Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Trading Academy. As always, I am your host, Josh Lilquist. In the last segment, I had Aaron Warby on the show. We got into different concepts and techniques on the retirement strategies, whether it's a 401k, an IRA, strategies that are designed to protect those retirement accounts, but also to, if you're short, being able to use leverage and try to boost those returns based on the capital that you do use in those markets. ETF opportunities, especially with gold, and just being able to have more confidence going into retirement. We had a lot of people texting in for the investing class that we're giving away seats to here today. Simply, if you missed that, just text the word investing to the number 210-210. That's text investing to the number 210-210. And that's for 2 seats, one for you and one for a friend. Or go to learnwithota.com and you can pick your own date and time there. By the way, when you text the word investing to 210-210, you'll get a text right back with a link to our landing page, and it'll direct you right to the dates and times to get set up with a class near you. We have these classes all across the metro area. We're coming to a neighborhood near you, helping with that financial literacy. So on this next segment, I got a new guest on the show here today. I got Sir Luke Young, and we're going to talk about more of his insight on these markets. Luke, thanks for coming to the show. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's good having multiple guests on the show here and just helping our listeners make smarter investing decisions. But I was talking with Aaron earlier, and he was talking about how great this volatility is right now. On the last week or so, we've seen the market shoot up from that drop that we had. I guess we'll call it in August, or July and August. Now, what's your insight on these overall markets with the opportunities that you see potentially moving forward and just being wise with your capital?
Great question. So what I'm seeing, and I mainly, Josh, I look at the futures market a lot. Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly in and out. Both short and long-term opportunities present themselves all the time. Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing in the equities this week especially is really an odd time. We're in 1 hour uptrends with pretty good demand behind them, but then you flip the page and go to the daily charts, you're sitting in daily supply. So I always tell people you're kind of in this no man's land. For me, as a shorter term trader, you're looking for a break up or break down to then capitalize on that move.
And that's a good comment that you're making there. So what Luke is talking about is being patient, whether he's going to go long, which is buying, or go short, which is selling, and that's profiting in a down market. So as we talked about in the last segment, protecting your capital is key in the markets. And if it's a no man's land, you don't have to be in a trade. Like if you're in a trade or investor, you're not required to always be in the trade or investment. If you are, you're over trading or investing. So so you mentioned you're looking for a break above or below these areas. Let's just say, for example, we have a break above. How would you strategize that? Because technically we would be at all-time highs again. Like, how would you strategize that?
Great question. So it's not something I'm going to say, I'm at an all-time high, I'm going to go buy. No, it notifies me that this is, in a good area where price could potentially correct itself down to demand, buying at a discount. Lots of ways to do it. And quite frankly, we have no idea what price is going to do. I think there's some good numbers coming out on Friday. FOMC meeting with interest rates. That could be the trend maker or trend breaker here, and that'll be interesting to see what they say.
So as far as, I know we talked about in the last segment, Powell, whatever he says, a lot of times moves the market. He's kind of the magician behind the market sometimes, but you're also talking about increasing your odds, right? So it's not just, as you mentioned, getting and going and buying at the market as all-time highs, and that's unfortunately a lot of what the public does. They think, as prices are going up, it's time to buy because it looks good. Well, if you think about it in the market, if price is already high, it's kind of expensive. So being able to wait for an area of demand, as Luke was just alluding to, and buying at a discount is how you increase those odds. Now, are there other odds enhancers that you're looking at to increase those odds?
All the time.
What are some of those I guess, without getting into real detail, what are some of the things that you do look at to increase those odds?
Well, there's stuff that's structured into supply and demand. You know, you're looking for strength, you're looking for the timing of the zone, just how strong that zone is. Did it break out? And people, when you say odds enhancers, Josh, they probably think you're talking about indicators on a chart. And that's the furthest thing you want to get away from is indicators. A lot of those are lagging behind. I don't have one single indicator on my chart besides volume. Just because you want to see where people are in and out.
Yeah, and that's a good comment because those are mathematical equations. You know, whatever those. And by the way, if there's a free indicator on a platform, it's exactly what you paid for it. It's worth nothing. And institutions, as we were alluding to, I think it was in the first or the second segment, they move the markets. It takes millions and billions of dollars to move the markets. Now, they know what the public is doing. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they're always looking after me, and they know what I'm doing. It's not because they're looking at what you're doing. They know the psychology of the public. And the psychology of public is buying high and selling low, which is exactly the opposite. So they can set traps. There's different things that they can do that is in their benefit and not the public's. So, you know, you mentioned supply and demand. Now, we were talking about earlier about how to be able to have a zone to get in your trade or your investment, and that way you don't have to be at the exact price. When you're looking for supply and demand, it's institutional order flow. But what is that actually looking for? If you can explain.
Well, to keep it as simple as possible.
I like simple.
The markets are simple when you look at them and make them simple, right? But you're basically looking for an imbalance in price, where buyers and sellers can't come to a conclusion until they do.
Okay.
Now, what I mean by that, you know, let's say you have more sellers than buyers and prices flying down, you now have a supply zone. Take it the opposite way. If you have more buyers than sellers after an area of imbalance, you now have a demand zone. Okay, so you wait for price to come back, fill that zone, and head back in the direction it came from.
So what you want to react off of is the unfilled orders then.
Correct.
And that's where you place in any investment or trade. There's no be right every time strategy. It just doesn't exist out there. But like what we were talking about earlier, adding odds in your favor, probabilities, and then finding that turn in price, which is either supply or demand, and that is where you do find those highest reward, lowest risk, and then highest probability entry points, and it's at or near a turn in price. And that's what you got to do in the financial markets. It's not just buying because you like Apple phones. You don't just go buy Apple. Selling oil because you hate oil. You just don't go do that. So it's having a strategy that's designed for that, which gets into some steps, right? Now, why is it important to have a step-by-step process in the markets?
Well, you mentioned something a while back when I first came on the show, something called capital management, right? You need to know how to manage your capital, the proper risk to reward structure you should have. So a step-by-step process allows you to do that in a fluent motion. I see so many mistakes with people, you know, that have a 401k or a Roth IRA, and you know they bet big on this big penny stock, and they put their entire 401k in this.
Yeah, that's very risky.
Very. Talk about capital management. They have none.
Yeah, we might as well go to the casino.
You might have better odds at the casino, depending on what you play. But yeah, having a step-by-step process takes that emotional imbalance away from the market, allowing you to follow your rules and stick to them.
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of emotions in the market. You have one, which is fear, and the other one is greed. And being able to disconnect from yourself from that is really how you build that consistency in the financial markets. So thanks for your insight on that. You know, Luke, we've had a lot of people texting in for this investing class that we've been giving away seats to all show, and I do want to give another giveaway for that. But these classes that we do here, I teach these. We have other instructors that teach these as well, and in their classes where we've taught thousands, just like you, are many strategies which are designed to teach you to make smarter investing decisions. So if you want to change what you're doing financially or change what you're doing in the markets, it might take doing things a little bit differently. And the first step is coming to one of these classes. So I want to give away one last set of tickets for these investing classes. We have these all across the metro area. You can simply text the word investing to the number 210, and that's for 2 seats, one for you and a friend. When you do that, you're going to get a text right back with a link to our landing page. All you got to do is click that link and get right into that landing page and pick your own date and time. If you're on the old interweb, you can go straight to that. You can bypass the text. Just go to learnwithota.com and pick your own seat there. We had a great show here today. 2 different guests. We had Aaron Warby on the show and Luke Young. And stay tuned for next week. We have a lot more to discuss on the show. Follow the podcast, Investing and Trading Live, wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, collect your profits. No, that's not what I want to say. Until next time, retire young, my friends.